Meditation and Spiritual Life, Swami Yatiswarananda. Conflict of duties. Very often we think we have got a certain duty to perform, but we find that it is beyond our grasp. It is too high for us. What should be done in such a case? So, what is being mentioned here is certain duties that we think we have got is beyond our grasp. Now, take the help of a working duty and make that a stepping stone on the way to the goal. There is no such thing as a fixed standard for duty. Duty changes continually in the course of our evolution. The child's duty is not that of the youth. The youth's duty is not that of the old man. Householder's duty is not that of the monk. So each case has to be judged differently. Very often, our sense of duty is found to be in conflict with our sense of the pleasant, but we should learn to make our sense of duty coincide with our sense of the pleasant, make our thoughts coincide with what we should like to do, and thus avoid unnecessary friction and worry, which mean a huge waste of energy. So, what here in the two paragraphs, what the author is telling, that sometimes we have in our minds a particular standard. But what the author is telling, that suppose the standard which I am thinking should be done and it is too high for me to achieve, let us take small steps and proceed. We must understand that the same individual, as a child has certain duties, as he grows it changes, it evolves. Youth, he has different. Householder, he has different. An old person has different. So let us not be too hard on ourselves, number one. Number two, the second paragraph is a conflict between what we like and what is our duty. There can be a conflict between these, that suppose X is my duty but I don't like it. There is friction and huge waste of energy. So what the author is telling, in such a case, again we must slowly analyze, do vichara, and try to coincide our duty, our sense of duty, with the sense of the pleasant. Make our thoughts coincide with what we should like to do. Otherwise, it's unnecessary friction and huge waste of energy. So, there also slow evolution has to happen. If the duty is unpleasant, we must learn to evolve. Simple enough. Third paragraph. Sometimes we complain that we are not able to get time for spiritual practice because of our preoccupations with the duties of life. So, another conflict, that my preoccupations, my duties, they are so extensive, it is taking the entire portion of my waking hours. It is not giving me a balance. So here the thought is, here the conflict is with spiritual practice. So it can be also taken as work and life balance. So let's see what's the author saying. Usually such complaints are baseless. If there is any real, sincere and deep-rooted hankering after the higher life, you will always find the necessary time for a spiritual practice and studies. For example, suppose you have interest in reading a novel, or learning music, or sports. So, definitely, if there is hankering, you will find time. That is true. So, but here, what Maharaj, the author, is specifically taking the case of spiritual practice, because many times the mind camouflages. Externally, we are aware that spiritual practice is important, but there is no real hankering or hunger from within, and that's why we camouflage and tell, oh, my duties are so mm, intense that I am not able to find time. So, there also the conflict can be resolved if I see clearly, if I understand that do I have the deep rooted hankering after the higher life, and then you will always find the necessary time. And if you do not do so, in spite of feeling a real yearning, you will end up being completely upset. So what the author is telling, and in spite of understanding that no, it's not a camouflage, there is real yearning. Yet, um, if you from morning till night only go on fulfilling the duties, then you will end up with frustration. When the soul has come to have a little awakening, it must be given food under all circumstances. Another fact. Otherwise, there comes a serious cleavage in the personality, a great disturbance and restlessness, a tremendous dissatisfaction and loss of balance. In such a case, you will never feel at ease so long as you go on starving your soul. So, here, what Maharaj is subtly hinting at is, see, all the three paragraphs is not very black and white, but trying to make sense of it. What in the third paragraph, the subtle hint is that we must strive to strike a balance. Even if there is real yearning, and if your duties are occupying the major portion of your time and energy, then you have to make a choice. Someday we may have to go through our practices a little hurriedly. So, this is what another way of making that choice. Someday we may have to go through our practices a little hurriedly, some other day at great leisure and with great attention. But if we do not go through them at all, that is, if we break the habit because of preoccupations, the habit will break and it will become very difficult to get back on track. So, but if we do not go through them at all, this thought will be pricking us constantly for the rest of the day, creating a whirlpool in our mind. This is also possible. Constant uneasiness, oh, I have not done that, I have not done that. Or there can be complacency creeping in from unknown quarters. Whether hurriedly or leisurely, spiritual practice has to be done day by day with great steadiness, singleness of purpose, and regularity. Singleness of purpose can only come when I do vichara and understand what is my duty. The outward duties are for me to train my mind to turn inward. So, that singleness of purpose, if it is there, if the purpose of my life becomes single, one, and that is reaching my higher state, reaching that state of blessedness and happiness and constant peace, then everything gets aligned. Saying that there is absolutely no time for one's spiritual practice and reading is not the truth. If I find time to sleep for 6 hours, I can sleep. Let us say just 10 minutes less and take some 5 minutes from my meals, some 5 minutes from something else, and so on. Thus, I come to have at least half an hour for my spiritual practice and readings. And this is what is to be done under all circumstances, even if the mind is disturbed, even if I am not able to do it with great attention, even if I go through my practice somewhat mechanically, even if my whole brain revolts at the mere idea of study or deep thinking. And this too is duty to my own self, my higher self. For by serving myself first with a view to serving others, I can serve them with far greater efficiency and in a better spirit of service and sacrifice. If we are able to work for others in the right spirit without any personal gain, we will be able to do our meditation in a better way, and that again will help us in working for others in a better spirit of consecration and self surrender to the divine. There are some people who go on with their japa even while they are engaged in some work. The mind has got wonderful capacities if we only know how to control, purify in the sense attachment to me and mine. When that starts to dissolve, purification happens, and develop it along right lines. One may very well do one's work in a perfectly resigned way, surrendering oneself wholly and unconditionally to the divine. Then there comes a time when all work becomes worship. So, how do I resign myself? When I slowly, and steadily, regularly, constantly practice this thought of dissolving me and mine, this attachment to me and mine, ahankara, then this self surrender slowly cultivates, and then we can wholly and unconditionally resign myself, surrender myself to the divine. Then there comes a time when all work becomes worship. The work again becomes worship when we are in that prayerful mood of self surrender. It is possible to combine both activity and self surrender and to do what we have got to do in perfect self forgetfulness.